Hi, Partha. Am I audible?
Yes, Subhash.
Thank you, Partha.
Does this meeting have a reminder? Victor has set up a reminder for all meetings,
Generally, in Slack, I can see we received a reminder. In the Slack, directly we are receiving the reminders actually.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's what I meant,
Yeah.
Slack as well as mail reminder also have come.
Oh, I see. I think it usually comes, people join from that reminder, I think.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. From Slack, right?
Yeah, Slack as well as reminder mail.
Correct. How about today Bernard is attending?
Today Bernard won't be able to join today.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a reminder in the Slack, I can see it. That is assurance for group 5.
No problem.
Yeah.
Let's wait for some time. Already
Yeah, sure.
December vacation, right?
Yeah, right. Actually, I met with Bernard yesterday to discuss the contents of today because he informed me today he won't be able to join.
No problem.
So we discussed and we came up with some pointers so that I will discuss.
No problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's wait for some time. If nobody's there, then we can, cancel.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. For 5 minutes, we'll wait.
Hello, Vim, Varda, and Viresh. Am I audible? Yeah, hi, Vim. Yeah. Okay. Just waiting for the folks to join. Let's give one more minute, then we'll start. So let's start today's discussion. Today is December 7, and it is a service assurance meeting. And Actually, I have prepared some content to discuss on our agenda. So I'll share my screen. Okay, could someone please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, today actually I prepared some content to understand the possible flow and the requirement for the modeling from the service assurance side. Just to give a quick recap on our previous discussions. So last week we cancelled our meeting, and before that we were discussing on the user stories and the again like a possible model where we are calling we should have one model for closed loop, and also there should be sub resources for the various goals. That is for the service assurance goal, and again that will have some details. So yeah, today I'll just proceed on that same discussion. So just to put thoughts like what exactly I was thinking. So I have put the slide in a slideshow mode, and the last time what we discussed, the service assurance model might look like something like this, and we had one top level umbrella CR, that is assurance loop, and it could have many assurance goal in order to meet different requirements, like you might need coverage assurance. I'm talking on high level assurance goal, but again like it can be drilled down to some assurance limited to enough a kind of performance related goals. So those goals, we can say that. And then again we need some information like what we need to observe, and what is the current state of the assurance goal, and uh, some points, some switches which could enable and disable it, and also it will contain some kind of policy. So the policy here, I mean to say, policy would contain the condition and action. So I'll just clarify further here, means like what I mean by the service assurance CR. So here, actually, this CR should contain uh, this four information, like what we need to observe, because yeah, certain parameters we need to observe, and based on that we need to take certain action, or I would say we need to have the certain policies, and we need to act on those policies. So certain parameters we need. So definitely that will it will be provided by the observability. But yeah, we need to understand in enough context what are those parameters that we need to observe. And also I think we need to take a look in the infra related parameters also. Second point, how it should be observed. So here we need to here the CR our CRD should also define like how the observation should be done. Should it be via the observability framework, or should we have a sidecar sitting next to the NF in the same pod, and it is from there we are collecting some information, or maybe some external system or something else. So here we should able to say that how it should be observed, or even the frequency and those parameters should be detailed out. And the third parameter, third thing, when to correlate the triggers, like it should be some condition which says that now we need to evaluate our policy, or or the triggers which says that now this is the time to take certain action, or some threshold, or so those things should be described, like the how the when the correlation should happen, and how to evaluate it, this policy. And the fourth point, what action need to be taken. So when I say the policy, I have prepared some glossary also. So when I put the word policy, I'm trying to define it like it is an object which is composed of match condition and the action. So when we combine it, we are telling that this is the policy. Okay. So I'll go back. So what action need to be taken? So that also need to be decided. So those policies should be given here. Uh, the possible things like we need to modify the package, or we need to propagate some policy into workload cluster. So yeah, this fourth item actually I captured in a further slide, so we'll discuss it later also. But yeah, these things I feel like we feel like this should be part of this service assurance CR. And yeah, later I'll go through this flow also. What I feel is how exactly it should be done. So, any comments on these requirements, or do you think something more need to be added, or something we cannot something we cannot cover in this CR? So, any comments? Okay.
Shubhas, this is Abhishek here from Verizon. I'm sorry, joining this meeting for the first time. From a contextual perspective, right, as we are talking about service assurance use cases, say, for example, there is a need of, say, auto scaling of some of the containers or some of the pods, right? So you have auto scaling, capability as part of the built-in framework itself, like the Kubernetes already support auto scaling. But in the
Right.
context of service assurance, again, there are two level of metrics or KPIs that we are talking about: the infrastructure level and the application level, right? So
Correct.
in terms of so how
Yes.
is this framework, working hand in hand with the tools, or that are available at the infrastructure? Like, say, for example, if there is some sort of spikes that we observe in some of the pods, like, say, because of CPU or memory thresholding, policies or parameters were met. So a
Yeah,
scaling
sure.
action is triggered, right? Then how that is correlated with application level? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, of course. Actually, the similar questions actually we had in the last meetings. So a
Okay.
few folks joined for the first time. So I'll just open this discussion. I will not be able to. Yeah, okay. So here I think we have some information. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so if you go through this material, you will find that we are trying to here we are trying to project the different layers. That it is a very high level picture. Okay. So you will find end-to-end services, then your domain services, again then that will be decomposed to your NFs, and then the infra where we actually deploy the NFs, right? So what we say that Nifio is currently focusing particularly on these two layers. So we are trying to address the assurance in this particular two layers, and also we are trying to support the high level assurance loop that is running on the top. So if you see the diagram, this one, you will find there are three loops. Three closed loops. One is directly close to the infra, so where the Kubernetes is taking care about it. Like whenever any event happens, operator will take it, and also it will do the scaling, scale out these things, right? And the second loop where we see where the management cluster will get involved, where the most of the management related services are running in the Neptune in the management cluster. So there we will try monitor those NFs by via I would say observability sub project. So they will monitor it, and based on those parameters, we need to correlate it. These two layers actually, if you see it, we are correlating here. You see the correlation between this NF and the infrastructure. So that we need to correlate it, and based on that we need to take certain action. And again we are calling it as a policy. So certain policies need to be pushed or configured at a different layers. So here, actually, we feel that we can fit our service assurance framework, and that will help based on the package topology of the NF. So by taking advantage of these things, and also correlating the NF related information and also the infrastructure information, and try to take a certain action. So in the bottom here, yeah, definitely Kubernetes taking the it is providing its control loop to manage the NF workload, or I would say pods. But yeah, here in the Nephew cluster, where the management cluster is there, so there we are trying to put our assurance, which will take care about the NF as a part of this second loop. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And also, yeah, if you check this document, we try to put the design consideration, like we are trying to identify certain function which will help us to design our assurance system in the Nephew. Again, this each pointers could be one projects also, or the capabilities provided by those projects also. Okay, so we are just trying to identify those functionalities and trying to correlate it to achieve this capability. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I hope, yeah. So actually, I would like to take a comment from Wim. So what he thinks, this CR is correct. It's like what the requirement from the CR is right. It's matching with Nephew. Wim, any comments actually?
So basically, I was just thinking, yeah, I also have been, I need to catch up a little bit. So, okay, so you listen to the package resources.
We did not go to the flow actually. Just first I started with the CR. This is the requirement we think we should capture in the service assurance CR. And
so my view is how should not be part of it.
How it should be observed, because
and also not when.
Okay, so when I mean to say that the correlation, when to trigger it. So there is certain conditions, right? Okay.
Yeah, it depends a little bit. I mean, I have a certain system in mind on which that is, it's part of the what. Because if you basically say that you want to be observed by a trigger, you say I want to be observed by I want to observe a trigger. There's no point in doing that in two steps.
Here exactly the meaning is that we would be directly getting a stream of observation from the observability project. Okay. And
but what I'm trying to say is that what you're trying to say is that if I look to 1 and 3, 1 is saying what, right? Let's say, and 3 is saying when what. It's when about the what, right? So why do you need to distinguish the two?
Okay. I think I'll clarify between 1 and 3. So 1 says that whenever we deploy any NF, so what we need to observe for, let's take an example of UPF. So in case of the UPF, I might be interested on its load, is at what load UPF is running. So I would simply understand that like I need to observe the CPU load whenever we deploy the UPF. So there I need to understand. And when to go, and when I mean to say the third point, let's say I started getting those parameters as a stream of observation from the observability. Now I need to trigger one action. So what should be the condition, or what should be the correlation?
Okay, so the This is the disconnect. In my view, you should not receive the data. You should receive the trigger.
Okay. 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 But yeah, how the user will, the end user will convey the trigger. So because I mean to say the whole control point should be with the user. It's like he should able to configure the entire assurance loop.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say is that there should be a system that does that for you. You don't have to do it all yourself.
Correct. Of course, we should take observability, I think, capabilities. There we need to pass like what to observe, when to observe, right? These parameters.
Like how you should not care about, in my view. It's an observability problem.
Okay. So actually, we had some thoughts also there. For example, end user wants to do certain changes in this loop, and he does not want to depend on the observability, and he wants to put the sidecar, and he wants to retrieve some certain information. So do you think is it okay if you provide some extension on those observability, so he could extend? Yeah.
That's part of the observability itself, right? The observability collects the data based on what various actors need, right? So he takes care of and how it's collected. You don't care whether it's SNMP or gRPC or files or something like that. You don't care about that. What you care about is the what, right? It's declarative system. You need to design a declarative system, right? So
I see. Okay.
If you need to take care about all the what, the how, and the when, it's going to be very complicated. So I need to. What I'm trying to say is that you need to spread that in various pieces and components.
Okay. But yeah, how the observability will decide that this how part? I think that clarification, if we get, that will help us to understand this one. There should be some resource which.
Yeah, just could you tell me what is different in your mind between what needs to be observed and how? Give me an example of what would be in the what and what would be in the how.
Okay. So let's. I'll just repeat the same example, the UPF I was talking about. So let's say I'm deploying the UPF. So what need to be observed? So there I need to observe the load on the UPF. Okay. So that could be one way of thinking. It is a CPU load, or even NF might be providing some kind of parameters, right, to understand the load. So that is the answer for what. And when we go to how, right? Of course, I agree. We need to create one declarative system. If we define the how, it will become more imperative. But yeah, some way should be there. Like I should say that this parameter means what the answer of the first question, how that should be observed. Should it be using some sidecar placed in the same pod, or it should be the observability project, or it should be it could be some external system. From there, I can retrieve those information.
So it's the provider of the observation is the how.
Yeah, right.
So whether it's the observability framework or if it's a sidecar, but it's the provider for the observation.
Right. But yeah, of course, I agree. We should try to think around how we can make a more declarative.
If you want to do this well, this is a huge project, by the way.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, actually, we are trying to identify the answers, actually. I totally agree. But yeah, now if we are able to answer, slowly we are able to define the CR, actually.
Yeah, so for, the way I see it is it's similar to what I think Varun said on the goal. Let's say today, autoscale, right? How does it work? Okay, you have a metric server that collects statistics, right? And you subscribe to it, right? So the guy that basically does the auto scaling looks at the metric server and knows the parameters that he is interested in to build that auto scaling decision, right?
Right.
And so he doesn't know how those metrics are collected. He just looks at the metric server and basically says, okay, give me these metrics, and based on those, I will make a decision, right? That's what the service assurance CRI. In my view, it should not be a control. I mean, it should be distributed, in my view, because you cannot do it in one big system. So it should be distributed because you will have the knowledge on the assurance differs depending on the element or the thing that you are interested in. So for me, it should not be one controller. It's a distributed system.
Okay.
So in other words, but I think you should, the way I think about it is the same way as you see in the metric server itself, right? So how we collect the metric is not your problem. What matters and what you do with it, right? These are the two things. And you could even say like a threshold is not your problem either.
Let's see. Okay.
Because the metric server
effectively,
will have...
So effectively, Wim, what you're saying is the observability framework has for a particular KPM has a way of observing it. It may be using Sidecar or whatever, but it's for that KPM. And all the service assurance does is to the observability framework, it says, I want this KPM to be or KPI, sorry, to be observed. That's it. That's all he tells them. Maybe there's some attributes. But don't worry about how it gets observed. That's the setup of the observability framework when you define that KPI within the framework, is what Wim is talking about, which is accurate.
Okay. Okay. That I agree. Yeah. But yeah.
Because look at the threshold, right? So just to make my point clear, a regular observability system, right? Whether it's an observability system or something else, I don't mind, but we'll also have a way to say, if you are interested in a certain threshold, right, and you only want to be informed on that threshold, you will be able to specify that in one action.
Okay.
Because the observability framework typically has, or the systems, they have triggers, and you can say, you can basically tell them, okay, only inform me for this object if this threshold is crossed.
Yep.
Or if you see a certain deviation. So if you have a system like that, right, you don't even need to, your assurance don't need to care about that. You basically get information. Okay, this happened, and then you do stuff, right? And then there's probably, what you need to care about is you get multiple triggers, right? You need to basically correlate the multiple triggers and make a decision around it. That's how I see what should happen on the service assurance side of a particular thing.
Okay, I'll just take the first step and ask one query here. So as an end user, I need to create this CR, right? Where I should say that what I would like to, which goal I would like to achieve, right? Which service assurance goal. And with that, I need to say that, Miss, what parameter you observe and what should be the trigger. Is it right, or what action I need to be taken? So this should be conveyed by the user, right? End user for the service assurance. So he will give this information, right? And the service assurance controller, I would say, or some module will configure those items in the respective module. Correct? What do you think?
I mean, if let's say if you see, the way I look at it is the following. Let's say UPF, or let's say we have an NF deployment, right? Various components into it, right? And what do you want to assure is, does it work? Let's make it very abstract right now, right? Does it work? And tell me it. So let's make it easy and say, does it work is basically, is the NF functioning or not, right? So let's say it's an aggregated thing. There's probably way more, right? But let's say now what you want to do is say, okay, this network function deployment is live, right? It consists of 10 elements. What you want to say is, let's say, are these 10 NFs up, right? Just to make it simple for now, right?
Right. Okay.
You don't even care where they are deployed.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So you basically go to something, let's define it as X, right? So you basically say, I want information on the status of each of these 10 components, right? That's what you will say. And
Right.
out of that, you are going to determine a certain, let's say, action or what have you, right?
Right. Correct.
That's kind of how I see what you should achieve. And of course, if you take more complex scenarios like load, you can basically then disaggregate or dissegment it into more components, right? But start with the basic principle of this: does this NF work or not, right? And if it doesn't work, maybe you can delete it and deploy it somewhere else or something like that, right? And you have to, I think we have to think about what are the parameters that we need to be able to take or do that scenario, right?
Right. So I think we need what, and also I think
Yes.
we need when also.
When
we
I
need,
don't think so, because you basically say, give me a state. So if you are interested in this case, you're interested in up and down, right? So this is simple.
Okay.
But let's say if you're interested in, I want
load.
to know if the load is more than 50%, right? Then the what
right.
is load 50%.
Okay. So okay. I got
you see what I'm saying?
It's
like, for me, there is no distinction between a load of 50% or an up or down. It's the same trigger, because the system you interact with should know how to disassemble the 50%.
Okay. I got it, Miss. Actually, we are on the same point. Actually, what I was saying that the one is just a key, what I need to observe. Third tells about the 50%. The second second part of the sentence. Yeah. So in this way, I was visualizing. But yeah, of course, yeah, I agree. We need to tell certain scenario that we need to observe. Correct. So
and there are systems who can do that, right? There are systems today who can do that. You basically can say, give me that data when that happens, and you don't have to worry about it, basically.
Yes.
So it's less thing to worry about. Yeah.
Yes,
and you get information when that happens, right? So you will be informed when this event happened, and then you can do something about it.
Yeah, I think we are okay, because we are telling about the key and what should be the value of that key or any threshold. Those things we are specifying. Yeah, I agree.
So, but there's very basic, right? Of that, right? So it says, I want to deal with load. I want to deal with the threshold on the load over this time period. That's fundamentally what you're asking the observability framework for, right? That's the input. The observability framework says, I'm going to need a sidecar for this based upon my recipe, right? Of that KPI, I may very well have to, in this deployment, implement it this way, right? And then when I'm done, there's a trigger on a threshold that says, I'm going to maybe a URI or whatever we do the callback for, right? Here's how I register for that correlation. That's the other input. That's it. That's all you got to do. From there, you get that piece of it, and then figure out what your next action should be. That's what the controller would.
Yeah, I think that is the most complex piece, actually, the step 4.
Yes, yeah, I agree. So in step 4, okay, you will get multiple informations, right, from various places, and then you have to make a decision on what to do, basically.
Yeah. Actually, I have prepared some content for this specific step that we will discuss further. But yeah, before that, I would like to go through this whole picture that we do at the time of creation of the NF. So how we are going to configure the service assurance CR. So those details I have put it here. So I'll just start from the step 1. So as part of the service assurance controller, that one approach, I'm just going like that, we would be having one controller and that will be taking care about the service assurance. But yeah, of course, there's one more suggestion. It could be distributed also, and we can realize the assurance. But yeah, let's try to take this idea and just to think. So this service assurance controller would be listening on the package revision. So like the other controllers, like a bootstrap approval controller, how they get notified on creation of each package revisions. So similarly, the service assurance will be listening on it, and the end user will create the service assurance CR. So that will be covering this information. So that would be like what we need to observe, and we have when and what action need to be taken. So this will be captured in this CR. And whenever the user creates the UPF package variant set, so he will whenever this gets created, the service assurance controller will receive the notification that UPF package revision is there, right? So and now SA controller, what will he will add it's
you should only care when it's approved, basically, right?
Right. Wim, just please correct me if I go somewhere wrong here. Actually, I'm also trying to understand.
So the information is when it's approved, right? So there is a status field of the package, because everything before that it's being hydrated, right? So it's still being processed. So you don't care about that because nothing is real. But from the moment it's approved, you probably are interested, because then it's going to be deployed.
Actually, my view was little different. I thought that the assurance will also affect the package hydration process. So that was my thinking. Like if any requirement for the package modification is there, we will also participate there and they create those new resources. For example, if we need to create some sidecar, then we need to inject another resource, right?
That's I'm telling that's not your problem, in my view. That should not be your problem, because that's again the how.
Actually, I put the question mark there. I'm also trying to understand, will assurance will affect the package hydration process or not? So that I'm trying to think. So is there any
what could happen, I think, is that you could, that if that's true, I think it should be part of the original package, in my view.
Okay.
So you can basically say for this package, right, I want these things to be observed, right? Because we basically have assurance, as you were saying, at different levels, right? So we have it local but also in the cluster, right?
Right.
And then we have it centrally, right?
Right.
So there might be information.
So here you're saying in the UPF package in this case, right? Is what you're saying.
Yes, it might be. It might be that you add assurance CRs there that will be consumed on the workload cluster, right? To get because the observability starts at the workload cluster level, right? So that's where you probably need to explain. You're basically telling the observability what you're interested in, and then the observability is going to make it happen.
Right.
So these information you probably should convey through the package.
Okay. So this part, actually, I also need to understand what are those parameters or how I'll be interacting with the observability, and also what things need to be put in the workload cluster for the innermost closed loop. So this part also still I'm figuring it out. What should be part of what we should keep in the package.
Yeah, so I think I see that certain assurance CRs will be there which basically convey what you want to see happening, right?
Okay.
Because you need to convey that to the workload cluster somehow, and that's the mechanism to do it.
Okay, so I think this is the first thing, right? What need to be observed. So that should be conveyed by the package itself. Is it the right
Yes.
to say that?
Yes, because what you will see is that you will say, I want this. Now, let's say you deploy 20 elements or 30 elements or 50 elements, and you basically get that information for free somehow, right?
Right.
Because you're going to get an instance of it on a per NF basis by using that mechanism.
Yeah. But your question also comes like how I'll able to correlate with the goal actually. If here actually I want to correlate with the some assurance goal actually, because each assurance I'm doing for certain goals, right? So the user should also tell me like what goal he wants to achieve, and another side the package will also come with the assurance CR in the package, like what assurance they can provide it. So is it?
But we can inject dynamically. So let's think about a scenario. Let's make it simple, right? So let's say, what is your goal? I want 10 UPFs up, right?
Okay.
Let's say that's your goal, right?
Okay.
In order to figure that out, what do you need is I need to understand the status of the NF, right? And that's what, right?
Okay.
So basically, that's a statically defined parameter somehow that you can inject inside of the package. We can statically assign or even dynamically assign inside of the package using injection that we are working on, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
now what you will do is, so now the hydration will basically convey that information to the workload cluster. The observability will start figuring out. Maybe in this case, observability is a little bit easy, but let's assume it. And now what we need, for example, is a way as a mechanism to convey, because there will be observability inside of the cluster, right? Which will be locally consumed. So, but we are not talking about that, I think. Now the observability framework should convey that information that you wanted back to the management cluster for you to interact with. So that means that you asked for the up state of a UPF, right?
I see. Okay. Yeah, that is a good example. Yeah.
And if that is 40 instances or 30 instances, you will know how many instances by looking at the packages, right? So you will know how many instances of your thing has been hydrated.
Yeah.
But now the observability will give you those information, and then you will do something with it, right? So you don't have to worry how that is conveyed, but you are expecting that information to come to you somehow. And that's how I see the segmentation of the two worlds, because otherwise it becomes way too complicated.
Right. Understood. Like we are creating a resource which observability can consume and generate those information, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it gets conveyed in the workload cluster, and then there will be a system to convey it back from the workload cluster to the management cluster, and you will hook into that.
Yeah, right. How the topology control actually uses it. So same similar system will also follow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the topology controller, what I just described, I did it all embedded. Right? I think they do it today. But my scenario is not really a good scenario, right? So let's say you want to see let's take another scenario. If the load of every of these NFs is above 80%, you want to know, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to schedule another NF, for example. Let's take it like that. So in this case, you want to understand the threshold is 80%, right? And so you will, but for me, the mechanism on how you get that is the same as what I described before, right? It's not any different.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Okay. So, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So I think if we go via that this way, then we can skip the step number 6 where we are conveying this information to observability, right? We just create a resource inside the package, and the observability will pick it up. So the 6th step we can avoid it.
Yeah, the thing that we have to sort out still, I think, because I think the observability guys are not focused on that. I mean, I don't know whether they had further meetings, but the way we convey information from workload cluster to management cluster is to be sorted out. I think that's the piece that is still missing.
Okay.
But for me, that should be observability or so. We need a mechanism to convey information from the workload cluster to the management cluster somehow.
Okay.
And that is going to be important for you to operate in the way that I'm explaining, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes.
But I think we have, I don't know whether you agree with me, but if you have something like that, the whole system becomes, I always try to think in Lego blocks, right? So you do one thing, and the other guys do the other thing, and so on. And if we segment it like that, you get a scalable system, basically, right? You get a composable system.
Okay. Perfect. Yep. I agree. So, okay. So this part till step 6, we are okay. Actually, this approach actually triggering me one more query. So that that actually I covered in the further slide. So I'll come to it later. First, let me try to finish this flow. Okay. So the step 7. So where I say that instantiate action pod in the management or the workload cluster. So there, I would like to put this actually block just to say that there is a certain pod or a certain module is there which can take the action in terms of modifying some configuration or modifying the package or propagating the policy. So in this way, these pods are capable. But yeah, of course, this is we could have the different suggestions also here. Just I'm keeping the placeholder for the action. And once
but this is important, right? So indeed, I mean, because see, if you say this is what I want, right, and you get dynamic events from a system, you need to act, right? So if you don't have something that can listen to these things, you will not be able to do anything right now. So for example, I agree with you that you need this. Otherwise you will have a challenge doing what we were saying. So you need some active component that is able to listen to these events, right, that are coming dynamically.
Yes. Okay. And once this everything is get configured, then we mark the status on that package as a success and say that we are completely ready. All the package conditions are met, and finally the package will be propagated to workload cluster. And
in my view, that's a little bit dubious, I think, because for me you should not. You are in assurance. You are reporting, right? You're not going to stop the package processing,
right?
In my view, so you are an active component, right? So in other words, if the hydration did not work, you probably will also get to know about it, right? But so what I'm trying to say is that I think service assurance is not in charge to stop the deployment, I think.
Yeah, here actually I was thinking like if certain packages we are trying to set this assurance on that particular package. So our package is referring some assurance goal, right? And if we are not able to fulfill it, would it be okay to stop the deployment and say that? Yep.
No, but the deployment, see, if you have a chicken and egg problem in my view, right? If the deployment cannot happen, you will not know.
Okay.
If you see what I'm saying. So you should let it go, right? So.
Okay. Yeah, this part actually, I mean, what I wanted to put, like, we are also part of the hydration process because we are affecting it. So we should also say that.
But
yeah,
you're only
yeah.
affecting it to say to convey what you want, right? That's
Right.
the impact you have, but nothing else, in my view.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Because-
when what he's saying is that if I can't set up the appropriate assurance aspects for the NF, I don't want to deploy the NF.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
not
but
the,
it's-
not the, not if the
that-
not the actual observation, just the setup.
Yes, but the problem is that you probably don't know unless it's done. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Maybe Subhash
Because-
have to.
Oh, you don't know. You can't validate it. You can't. I get what you're saying. When you
Yeah,
can't
so-
validate it until it's deployed, is what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, let's say if you are able to complete the setup and directly we say that we mark it complete and you go and deploy, right? Correct, Wim. Actually, for example,
But that you can do, eh? So what I'm trying to say is that, okay, you deploy and somehow assurance ID observability cannot fulfill your requirement, right? So it cannot
okay,
give you the trigger. I mean, someone can decide, and whether it's assurance or not, I don't have an opinion about that. But what I was trying to say is you have to let it go to be able to know that it cannot be done. That's what I'm trying to say. So but I mean, once you know that, let's say you deployed and it fails, then you can take action, right? So that's information you will get back. Then you can take an action to say, don't deploy this package because I cannot assure if that's what people want.
my thought was like, I am ready, like everything what was needed for this NF, I have prepared it, everything is configured, and now the package can be propagated to workload cluster. Only that I would say that there's a thumbs up from the assurance side. So that's why I said that all conditions are met.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get
Mhm.
to is that, okay, what are you going to, because the only thing that you're doing is conveying what you want, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. If that doesn't work or is something, then there's something
Yeah,
really
yeah.
broken into the system.
So what exactly you do in case of IPAM specializer? Let's say it has given some IP address and it is not, we are not able to deploy it. But still we say that in the package, all the conditions are met. I mean, because we generated the IP address and it got the IP address and finally we propagate the package, correct? So similar fashion, actually, I wanted to follow. Am I right or
No, but
I'm going wrong?
no, in this case, a condition is taken because I would not do that in this case, right? Because you're not really allocating a resource. Your allocation happens at the workload cluster, right? So it's not going to happen before. In my view.
Okay. So you are suggesting that if don't modify anything there in the condition and let it happen the deployment, and if any fail happens in the deployment, then also you continue the your action thing to redeploy it. Is it right?
Yeah, you will get to know that information in my view, because one of the what's should be, is it deployable, right? In my view, so that will be one of the things you are going to ask for.
Okay.
And if that is not successful, you will get to know that, right?
Okay.
And you will take action. You could basically decide, do not deploy this package, revert, right? So destroy, which we don't do today. But I mean, you could. That could be an action you will take. But yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that it will have happened somehow, right? So your conditions we use, Sebastian, typically for things that we need inside of the management cluster that are important to so we actually allocate the resource, right? So that's why there is a condition.
Okay, someone else will fulfill it, right?
Yes. So we put a condition.
Okay.
So because this is what is called in the industry choreography, right? So you So you have workflows where you basically define this needs to happen, then this needs to happen, and this needs to happen. We went for a choreography approach where you basically
Yeah.
you have actors,
Yeah.
and the actors, so because you don't have the order and how that comes, we don't want to manage, right? So we basically say, I want this, okay, and I said, and someone will fulfill that, and then you go to the next stage. So it's like an automated dependency management system without you having to specify explicitly all the dependencies.
Okay,
that's what we did.
I think we are okay, because service assurance will ask some kind of observability, right? So that will be fulfilled by the observability. So observability should mark the condition met.
Yes, unless so see what we didn't do so far, which is I think we still have to do that. For example, in IP addressing, right? What we are changing is that the subnet will be allocated in the management cluster, but the IP per pod will be locally allocated. Okay. So in which case, so if you, what I'm trying to say is that if you're not asking for anything in the management cluster, you shouldn't set a condition. If you do, you should.
Okay.
So in other words, if you're only depending on the observability in the workload cluster, a condition is not useful. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you are depending on something that observability in the management cluster has to do for you, and you're depending on it, then you should set a condition to establish that.
Perfect.
Just for your information, I mean, I'm working on another system that basically, let's say, removes that. Makes it way more simpler. So you don't even have to write code for it anymore. So you basically get everything through YAML without code.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you, Wim, for the clarification. So actually, I had one more slides actually also. So here I have put the question, but we have only 5 minutes left. So what I'll do, I'll cover this slide maybe next week. But yeah, before that, I'll just put like some scenarios what I was thinking around the service assurance. So first case we talked about, like a package is deployed after the service assurance CR is got created. So in that way, we'll be having like what need to be observed, what action need to be taken. But the second scenario also arises that package is already deployed. Let's say UPF is already deployed, and now I would like to set some service assurance goal for it. So
afterwards, after it's deployed, so someone came in and said, okay, I had load X, but now I want to change it to load Y and stuff like that. Right?
Yes. So these two scenarios, I can see it, but the second thing's little complicated is how we would do it.
Oh yeah. No, it's easy. You basically you update the package revision and you'll get it.
This approach I also wanted to take, but here actually like the package modification approach, right? Some trigger, and I wanted to modify the package. Okay, shall I cover it, or okay? One query I actually have so that initially I was mentioning, right? So let's say service assurance modifies something in the package. So will it make initial intent inconsistent with the current modification from the service assurance? Because I'll just give an example. Initially, when we deployed the UPF, we said that the maximum connection, let's say assume that maximum session I would like to support 1,000, let's assume that. And later from the assurance side, I created one assurance goal and say that I would like to achieve 5,000 connections. So it make inconsistent, right? Once the initial intent was just for the 1,000, but service assurance is making it 5,000. So how to make this information consistent around the system?
So that but that you can do. I mean, someone can do some, let's say, package validation and stuff like that. It's very easy to build, right?
Yeah.
So like you have admission controller, you have a package admission controller, which does that.
Policy,
right?
You meant to say,
and admission controller, which is a policy system, right?
Okay. So that I was also thinking
again,
same.
you shouldn't. you shouldn't care about that. In my view, it's a problem for someone else. So I always think about segmenting problems into self-contained things, and you have an actor that works on that and only that. And that's, in my view, why Kubernetes is a success.
Yeah.
So that's for me package, let's say validation and consistency and stuff like that, which fits into that bucket.
Yeah. Actually, we have one more minute left. I wanted to discuss this in a detail. Will it be okay for you that next week we discuss on this particular slide this topic on much detail?
Should be fine. Yeah.
Because there are two approaches: package modification and policy propagation. So these two approaches I wanted to discuss for the mean of how we can take action. So this one will take in the next week meetings. But at least I think we got some clarity on this particular flow. I guess we are okay here.
We should update. We should update that a little bit with the feedback, I guess, right?
Yeah. We need to modify certain things, like we need to clearly mention that 2 entries for observability and 1 on 4 for the service assurance. So that we try to make it more cleaner, and we'll update this time. Yeah. Any closing comments from folks before we close the meeting?
I need to drop.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye bye.
All right. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Hi.